What if you had more content ideas than you knew what to do with? You are listening to the Street Cred podcast, the show laser focused on helping you turn your side hustle into a full-time career. I'm Elijah Delport, and as always, we're talking about the marketing behind streetwear. But as with any streetwear brand, there's always two facets, and I like to break it down like this. People in this industry say they have clothing brands. In that phrase, in that expression, there are two words. There's clothing and there's brand. And so clothing is the product. That's exactly what you're selling. It's the generator of the sales. And then the second aspect is the brand. And I like to think of that as the frame, the marketing, how you actually go about selling that clothing and who you're selling that to. And so with each of those two aspects, especially the latter one, the brand part, the marketing aspect, and without a brick and mortar store, all marketing happens on social media. And so if you have a already great product, well, that's fantastic. But as we discussed in the previous podcast, all about David Lynch, he had a fantastic film. He was an artist. However, just because he had a good film doesn't mean he had a full cinema. And the same is true for your clothing. Just because you have a good product doesn't mean you are selling out clothing drops. And I truly believe a good product is the very bottom standard these days, because everybody can make a good product. We can all do high GSM garments. We can all hire a clothing designer. And I'm not saying that everyone is. Your clothing product, I'm sure, is probably better than most people's if you're listening to this podcast. However, there is still a minority group that represents many, many brands. In fact, many thousands or tens of thousands of brands who make clothing on that higher standard. And so there needs to be a greater focus on the marketing. When we get to that point, the next issue that arises is ideas. It's that if I'm gonna put more time and effort and money into my marketing behind the product that I'm selling, how do I actually generate the ideas to do so? It's a big problem. And so I'm going to share with you the two things that I do to create between 5 and 10 unique pieces of content every single day on a number of platforms. And first of all, what does unique pieces of content mean? Well, unique means I'm not just posting the same video, the same short form video to Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. It means I'm posting an email, and then I'm making a video, and then I'm writing a post, and then this is unique pieces of content. Then I'm making a podcast like we are right now. And so I'm going to share with you the two strategies that I use to do that. And the first ideation strategy that I use is scheduled ideation time. And I suggest this is something you implement too. So how does it work for me? Well, the first 25 minutes of every day, I spend writing an email. Now, it's not always that strict. Sometimes I get it done in less than 25 minutes. I certainly don't let myself go over. Sometimes it's at the end of the day, not at the beginning, because I don't have time or meetings come up or whatever. But the point is that every day I'm spending dedicated time to creating. I believe brainstorming is overrated. I believe brainstorming is an excuse not to create. And I believe that our success lies on the other side of execution. And so if we have a place where we can create something within boundaries, but actually creating, and that's the ideation time, I think that is the most productive thing to do. So here's how I do it. I simply sit down and I start the timer for 25 minutes and I write. What am I writing about? I'm writing about value for streetwear brand owners, people like you, subjects like the things that I'm talking about now. I'm sharing stories. I'm writing tips. I'm sharing inspiration. I'm encouraging. Like, these are the kind of things that I'm writing about. And I'm writing from start to send, right? Not start to finish, because it could always be better. It could always be more finished. However, I'm writing from start to send, which means when the timer goes up, whatever condition the piece that I've just written is in, I press send anyway, no matter what. And that's a big rule, because people get stuck on it's not finished, it could be better, quality over quantity. However, especially in the beginning, you just need to build momentum. And so your ideation time needs to be a safe zone where you can create something that's less than your best every day, because what it's going to become is a massive well, a deep, deep well of ideas for all of your other platforms and larger projects of greater quality. So that is my ideation time. Again, this is the main point. If you're going to take away anything, my ideation time scheduled is not brainstorming, it's creating. However, it's creating within these boundaries. And so what are you writing about in your ideation time? And I suggest writing because it's the most simple form of content creation. You're writing about, you're providing value to your target audience. This is why it's important to have a target audience, because you're not going to spend 25 minutes every day talking about your garments and why people should buy them. Instead, you're talking about the idea that you're selling. Again, clothing brand. The clothing is the product. The brand is the lifestyle, ideology, ethos behind the product that the product represents. That is what you talk about. That is what you write about. So if you're all about sustainability, you talk about Earth. You share a statistic you learned. If you're all about skateboarding, you share stories of local skateboarders, or you talk about the topic of, like, what would you write about on a blog for skateboarders? Or you just need to dream up. If your brand was a blog, what would you write about? What would it be about? That is what you write about in every single day, no days off. So now you have this massive well. The next question is, what do I do when I don't know what to write about? And so here it is. This comes to the second part of my ideation time. It's not scheduled time as the first one was. Instead, it's organic idea capture. The thing is, when I write for 25 minutes at the start of every day about the ideas that I'm sharing about, giving value, all of a sudden throughout my day, I start to notice things in relation to that email that I'm writing that I didn't notice before. For example, I'll notice a story. I'll notice what someone's wearing. I'll notice, and I'll throughout the day, naturally it will come to me ways to bring that in to what I'll write about the next day. So this is why scheduled ideation time is important, and why you also need to have organic idea capture. Because one thing is, there's going to be days that you're uninspired to write. They're the days that you go to wherever you captured your ideas throughout the day, and you say, okay, I don't know what to write about today. Let's see what I've thought about throughout the day, and pick one of these topics that inspires me today. That's how you do it. A couple of things with that. Pick one place to capture your ideas. It has to be easily accessible, and always accessible. So it has to be always on your body. It could be your phone, a notes pinned to your phone. It could be a physical notebook that's always in your pocket. It could be the voice memos app. Whatever it is, it has to be easy, convenient, and always accessible. So that's really important, because don't say you're going to remember your ideas. You're not. I don't, and I've done that in the past. I still do it sometimes. I don't know why. I still do. I think I'm going to remember it, or maybe sometimes it's in the shower. That's the worst, when I can't access any of it. But that's why it's always important to have it constantly accessible. And so that is how you generate more ideas than you know what to do with. I think that I have more than 300, I think it's, a bit more, it's like 320 or something ideas in the draft phase that are ready for me to create on. 320. That is the definition of more ideas that you know what to do with. I have clients in my coaching program that have in excess of 1,000, and I know other people from which I've learned this technique of idea capture, and I've refined it myself, who have implemented a similar ideation technique and have folders of thousands upon thousands of ideas. The point is, you implement this, ideas don't become an excuse. Yes, it's not the only obstacle in the way of doing your marketing and your creating content, but it is many times. Because I have a lot of discussions with brand owners where they say, okay, well, I have no idea. Well, if you have this as an asset you can lean on, you'll never run out. So anyway, that's all on ideation that I have for today. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of Street Cred. If you found any of the stuff that I'm saying valuable, You can trust that there's going to be some other things that I release and put out that's also valuable and you might find helpful too. And if you're here by this point, I'd say, you probably have found this valuable. Otherwise, you would have clicked off by now. So look, I've got another thing for you that's absolutely free, and it's going to be more value than what you're getting on this podcast. I've got a community of now 104 motivated streetwear brand owners, other fashion entrepreneurs that you can connect with and network with in a community on a platform called Skool. It's free to join. There's a link in the description below wherever you're consuming this podcast. And I'm on the inside. I'm posting stuff every day. And here's a massive plus. Inside, I've also uploaded a free marketing course for brand owners. There's lots of general marketing advice out there. There's very little that's specific for the fashion industry. This is exactly for that. So if you are looking at increasing or improving the marketing aspect of your brand, you've already got a good product or you have some ideas, at least you can figure that out. I can help you with the marketing side of things. So come join us. It's absolutely free. Use the link in the description and trust that if this was valuable, that's going to be even more so. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow for another podcast. Bye now.